I said that.
Yeah, here we go. Are we up? And we're up. All right. Toggle back over here. Okay. Welcome back to the third episode of this that we're going to be watching. We are fairly positive. I don't think either of us have anything really negative to say about the first two episodes. We've kind of touched on a couple of things with Merrick. Merrick's the big talking point this so far, it seems. We've seen Starkiller thrown out, which would be interesting if they want to spin that into like Vader's personal inquisitor turned basically Starkiller story, I guess, if they were to run it like that was the beginning of the Inquisitors. It was his personal Jedi hunter, and Palpatine was like, oh, absolutely not, and they run the Starkiller like he's exiled kind of deal. That could work, and then they form the Inquisitorius or whatever. We talked about it being Barriss, which would be interesting. I don't think they're going to do that, but the other one was Ezra, unless the other galaxy is very Night Sister heavy and he's like enchanted or something, and that's a reveal.
But where I keep seeing that argued with is why is Ezra in this galaxy and Thrawn's not? And so
well,
that's
the thing
why
is the
I'm
Night
hearing
Sisters.
like it might not be him.
The Night Sisters don't know Thrawn potentially, and they just come across a powerful Force user that would probably be opposed to them in some capacity, and they just send him back to this galaxy to find Morgan or something. I don't know. Maybe
bet you this is gonna end up being like a nobody that we all put like a lot
well,
of
that's
emphasis
part
on.
of what I'm gonna get to in just a second. The other thing I saw was it being like a Luke clone as like an early stages cloning thing, but I don't think that's the case. Just
a Luke with a W.
Luke. Because we've seen their cloning at this stage in the galaxy in The Mandalorian with all the pickled Snokes looking things in that episode of The Mandalorian where they found out Gideon was still alive. So I don't think that's it. But part of what I was going to kind of touch on was the fact that there wasn't really a whole lot of speculation for much of Obi-Wan. There wasn't really any like talking points to talk about other than like, was Reva a Jedi? But it was kind of made relatively clear that that was the case. Nothing that I could really think of in The Mandalorian that like caused all these theory crafting things. Nothing really too big that I could think of about it being like a really community driven thing. But this, I mean, there's people all over the place talking about different options and different people that it could be or whatever, and I think it's interesting, even if it turns out to be nobody. I like the fact that there is a positive thing going on surrounding Star Wars and it's not all negative. And I think the theory crafting and the speculation aspect of it is just fun and interesting. So, but anything before we start the episode?
I'll say the only negative thing I have for the last couple of, or the first episode really is when Hera is talking about Balin and his apprentice, and she's like, they exhibit your abilities. Like at this point, they don't know, like, hey, he's got Force abilities.
Yeah,
I don't get why
a lot of people kind of touched on
it.
that. They're talking like not real people for the sake of the people who have not seen Rebels, I guess. Like her watching the thing, which is kind of disguised with it being the day of, with Ezra saying like, oh, this is why I sacrificed myself to defeat, like, it's very blatantly put. The way that Hera kind of says some things on second watching, that was one of the ones that stood out. I'm like, it's a weird statement. Like, you knew Kanan. Like, what do you mean exhibited powers
Ezra,
like yours?
Ahsoka.
Just say, oh, they have.
Of course.
Well, even that I don't really get. She could have said like, "Oh, they appeared to have some force sensitivity." I don't think rebels would have
Exactly.
added to that at all. So yeah, I
They
don't know.
exhibit abilities like yours.
Yeah, I thought that was strange, but that's something people have pointed out is the odd talking
It was
like
the same as like in the Mando, but in Mando it made sense because they didn't know. Like
yeah
it was a new thing. But I mean, in this, they all know somebody that was force sensitive.
yeah intricately, very closely for a long time at this point.
Yeah.
So I don't remember if we touched on. I completely missed it in the first episode where he's like, "Oh, I'm calling their bluff. These aren't Jedi." Because we were like, "Really? This dude doesn't think that it's weird that there's Jedi at this point in the galaxy coming to see their prisoner?" I didn't even.
Well, as far as he knows, there's only one or two.
Yeah, I completely missed the line where he's like, "Oh yeah, these aren't Jedi. I'm gonna call their bluff. Invite him to the ship and have security meet me down there." Like he knew, which I didn't really notice that, I guess, until he was like, "Oh yeah, you put up a good act," like down in the hangar, but that was put in place long before that.
Yeah, he full on thought that they were like imperial people. I think he even called them imperial scum or something like that. And then asked for their identification. And then they're like, oh, well, here's my red lightsaber. Or orange or off red. Or I keep seeing comments about that too. Which I'm curious because it's not red. It's not, it's orange. Blood
Yeah, they're
orange.
like a weird
Brick
off
orange.
red. But we got a
So
short
maybe there's some kind of.
episode. It was only
I'm
about
ready when you are.
30 minutes. That's unfortunate. The other thing is people have kind of wondered if we're gonna get a Thrawn reveal at the very end, and he's not
I don't.
gonna actually be
I
a
hope not.
prominent part. This is like the setup season for what's to come,
Makes
and
sense with Marvel.
I hope that that is not the case. But we shall see. All right, ready?
I am.
Episode 3 and 3, 2, 1, go. Also didn't register. They said SSD. It's a Superstar Destroyer. Superstar Destroyer.
Mm-hmm. I will say, after watching many times, that Sabine is really, really. I mean, she was already growing on me when I first watched it, but she's really, really growing in on me as Sabine. Like the way she does her facial features and the way she looks and everything. Like she is Sabine. Like so far.
Yeah, I'll touch on it after this episode as to Sabine specifically and some opinions. I also still hate this relationship. I don't like it. I never would have thought Hu Yang would have been like a good main character, but I really have liked him so far. So, interesting. It's pretty cool.
You told her that?
I feel like I've seen this before.
Deja vu.
It's also just got a vault full of lightsabers. It's because she used force speed.
Time to fly. Hey. Aunt Sabine. I feel like he'd be older.
I mean, it looks like he could be anywhere between, what, 6 and 9?
9, yeah.
You're gonna get anything with a hand like that. You need a better force hand. That's a good choking hand.
She's like, fuck! It breaks.
It's gonna zap a ship with lightning and blow it up.
Yeah. And Chewie goes, ah! Cup 1.
Glad they cut to the cup so I could see its reaction.
See like a little bead of sweat bleed out of the top. Condensation, I guess. Uh-oh.
Ooh. Suspicious. Wouldn't they have already passed the Denab system at this point?
A giant jump ring.
It's kind of neat. Oh. It's like a Grievous ship. I love how relaxed she is.
She's Mandalorian.
No, not her.
Oh.
Those are cool.
They look like old World War II planes. I think that's the point. They even fly like them.
I've almost got that like tail or like chain gun rattle. Move where? Up, down, left, right?
Pretty much, probably.
Should have like
1 out of fucking 9. Wota! Deep garble. That's so cool.
Obi-Wan?
Uh-oh.
Sounds cool.
As you wish. Are you crosswired? Hyperspace through the ring? Oh.
Guess they're dead. Was a good show, I guess. Oh no, not the glitter pod. Gonna use that Princess Leia force body bubble thing.
I was thinking suit.
Well, that looks ridiculous.
She has a spacesuit specific to her body.
She got the same costume keys on her like hips as her like normal clothes. It's kind of goofy. It'd suck. You die in a space battle to somebody with a lightsaber.
Where's your lightsabers?
Gonna get splatted. That's such an impractical ship, that's for sure.
Purgle?
I don't even need the hyperspace ring.
Were they on frequency 0?
Well, they just ask them where if they could, if they've seen Ezra.
They were never that big in the show.
I mean, they were bigger than a Star Destroyer.
I mean, true, yeah.
I mean,
I just remember all the episodes of him like jumping and like landing on him.
Definitely feels like a larger scale, I think, but
And they're on Setos or whatever that was called.
wouldn't this be Dinab? There's just the Dinab system.
I just thought it was the wherever they conjured that planet orb thing in the last episode.
Yeah.
Setos, Cetos.
Michaka.
He really thinks they could do Ahsoka in. He knows who she is.
Well, to be fair, he's already expressed hesitation or whatever in killing her.
Jedi. What a shame.
He has such a good presence just being on screen. I feel like he almost could have been a bigger, like, main villain of a trilogy or something. Just with his screen presence and stuff, because every scene that he's been in the show so far, he's like makes other people look like they don't know what they're doing. I also realized on the rewatch that their ship has the exact same audio that the shuttle makes when it's Palpatine landing on Mustafar to pick up Anakin's crumpled frozen or fiery
Yeah, the
bits.
shit's still like that, like A-frame, like the Imperial A-frame or whatever.
Yeah, it's not the same thing, but it
Similar.
is definitely like a copy paste sound of that thing landing, which is kind of neat. I also really like the like Grievous-esque, like hot rod World War II plane style of these things. I like the way they looked. I like the way they sounded. This is one of those episodes, like we talk about episode length, that feels too short. Like, I don't think there
It
was
was short,
really...
but it wasn't like a filler episode.
No, but I feel like it ended at a point where we could have got a little bit more, maybe like a forest fight scene or something to like round that out. Because I don't feel like there was anything really in this episode that wasn't necessary. I mean, they have to build her like building to the ability to do so, and their cohesion and starting to like work together again, I guess.
And in this episode, they clarified that she is not force sensitive, but I guess they're trying to find the the broom, the broom pool from episode 7 or whatever it was, episode 8 or no, episode 8, yeah. Where I guess maybe she's gonna discover some force ability.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly they're, I guess, doing with that side of things. I don't know. I can't tell if they're saying that she just has low force like sensitivity. Maybe that like she's saying that everybody can do it. You just have to practice, which I don't know, seems a bit odd because I don't know. This episode made me somewhat like the whole like master apprentice thing a little bit better, but it still just feels so out of left field coming from Rebels. Um, it's maybe because like we know that Sabine is a Mandalorian who trained with the Darksaber just for the sake of training with it and learning how to use it, but like how that translated to this without us having any sort of like in between is just weird to me. But we'll I guess see where that goes or how they flesh that out. I already like that they're both kind of coming to the realization of like, okay, the way that we're doing this isn't working and we have to almost equally rely on each other instead of a master apprentice. Like clearly Ahsoka's the ranking person, the person with the experience and the knowledge to pass down, but they're gonna work more like on an equal footing, which I think is interesting.
That's the way it came across to me. Is like it came as a master and apprentice, and like obviously, like you said, like Sabine is a Mandalorian, and so she's got that headstrong part of it, and maybe Ahsoka's finally coming to the terms that like she has to. She's taking it as like an adult versus a child kind of aspect. Now she has to look at it as an adult on an adult kind of like relationship.
And it also, I guess, kind of makes sense that Ahsoka would be kind of the one to teach a Mandalorian to be a Jedi, given that she was similar in her decision making and her stubbornness and things.
And headstrong.
I did like the like training thing with the sticks and like it being like almost like a game where you could pull up the results of what it was after the fact. I thought that was neat. Um, I find it weird that she just has a cabinet full of lightsabers, I
We didn't
guess.
get a good, clear view on that though. They could have been like training sabers.
No, that's what I'm looking at now. It looks like there's four in the top that are like look like what he was holding, those like beam things. But then there's definitely at least three, if not more, like lightsabers. No, it looks like there's.
I mean, on Hin Young's original ship, he had sabers from every culture, every like generation. So who's to say that like her ship hasn't been somewhat adapted to like store some of his culture, some of his history, some of his like
Well, that would work, but you also have to
I don't
take into
know.
account the like lightsaber purge. At least that was in, I think it was in like EU, of them getting rid of lightsabers. Like lightsabers were a no-no, even if people saw them throughout the last 30 years or whatever.
True, but I mean, it's been what, let's just say 5 to 10 years since the fall of the Empire and that law or that rule.
Yeah,
And who's to say that between Ahsoka and Hu Yang, they haven't like been building sabers to maybe teach the future?
it looks like she's got six normal lightsabers of some sort. But then there's two at the bottom that kind of make me think like temple guard lightsabers. They're like goldy bronze like saber staffs. They're long hills, I think. So
She did go to the Lothal Temple with Ezra and Kanan. Do you think she could have gotten them from there?
maybe. I did like the whole sequence of her not being able to see and just the way that they kind of framed that whole thing with the sounds and everything. I thought that was really well done actually. It's weird like seeing like normal clothes, I guess. It's just a little odd. Looks I don't know. It's also funny to me that Ahsoka has like foam padding versions of her armor that she puts on, or that I guess just maybe goes under the armor when she doesn't have on like her van braces and stuff. It's kind of interesting. Um, Also, given what we know now, I'm curious and not really. I don't have any thoughts as to when an Ahsoka Anakin flashback would make sense. In what context, given what we know the story of the season kind of is right now, where
Or
that,
what, 3 of 8?
yeah, where that, six, I think.
3 of 6. Oh wow.
It might be eight. I don't remember.
I feel like we talked about it last time
Yeah, I
when
don't
we were
remember.
I think it's 8 because we were like, oh, there's only
Yeah,
six
eight.
episodes left.
Yeah. So we got five left, but
I mean, it'd have to be mid-season, like the next
well, not
two
necessarily
episodes or
where
so.
in the season, but thematically, what would be happening that would cause her to have a flashback in any sort of meaningful way, short of them just wanting to do it to do it. How, I don't know.
I get what you're saying, but I mean, beyond the fact that she's struggling so hard to train Sabine, and I feel like it's like there's so many questions she would have asked Anakin, like why this, why that? How can I do this differently? How can I help this? How can I change that? Like I feel like there's so many different questions she could have a flashback to remembering her training
I
to him reciting, "Oh, well, this is how I did this. This is how I did that."
I almost feel like it would make more sense in the context that we know of, and it feel less forced if it's her talking to his Force Ghost, not knowing how to connect or how to get through or how to make this
But
thing
I feel like
happen. It feels like it would be weird for her to like remember a
I
lesson
feel like
and us
that's what
get to see
everybody
it.
wants, though.
Yeah,
Everybody wants an Ahsoka and a post Vader Anakin like meetup, and I don't think we'll ever get that.
I
That's
don't
just
know.
fan service.
I mean, we know that Hayden's in it somewhere,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
we have heard him talking to Ahsoka or about Ahsoka, which means it has to be probably a Clone Wars sense. Well, I don't know. I'm curious to see. It's like that little nugget that we're waiting for every episode to like see when it's gonna happen. It's like the big thing. I don't. I mean, everybody's like, "Oh, Thrawn, Thrawn." No, I don't even care. My like season thing is Hayden and hearing him in a Clone Wars sense or whatever. That's what I'm here for. Um, so they're doing the training stuff. We get to see. I didn't even. It did not even occur to me. Home One is literally the main, like, fleet ship from the originals. Akbar's ship, Home One, didn't even
Is
cross.
it?
Yeah. So that like meeting chamber that I think they were in the second episode or whatever is the same one where they all meet and discuss the plans to go off to Endor and all that stuff, I think. So that's just neat.
For some reason, I thought that ship got like destroyed at some point throughout the series.
I'm glad we got to see. I don't remember her name. I will look it up.
Mon Mothma?
Mon Mothma back as her. Genevieve O'Reilly. I like her.
Her doppelganger from the original.
Yeah, I like her and everything that she's been in. So I'm glad that they're still bringing her around. I feel like this other dude, they're like almost focusing too heavy on him being a scumbag and him being nefarious. Senator Ziono. I don't know. I do like how it's kind of shown that Hera just doesn't really give a shit. It's like, oh, were you in the war? No. Shut up.
Well, fuck off.
Like, you have no idea. And I like the comment of like, okay, so you just sat around to see who came out on top. I'm like, how do we know we could trust you? Clearly, you weren't fighting for anything.
Kind of same as the Separatists and the Empire people and all of the people she just arrested.
Yeah. So
you just aligned with the winners. It doesn't mean you're loyal to us. It just means you're a participant in our new whatever because you bought into it because we won.
I'm curious to see where that goes. And then they have to throw in the like complacency and stupidity of the New Republic. It's like, oh, that's a good thing. We have a choice, don't we, to like not get into another war? Like, really? Do you have a choice to get into the first one, you moron? Yes, you have a choice. You were forced into the first one, so you know. Jason.
I was happy to see him finally.
I don't. Wait a second.
He's gonna have to be force sensitive at the end. I mean, he's got to be, right?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. It looks like he has a little version of Kanan's shoulder piece.
I wasn't paying attention to that. I was looking at like his face and his hair. Just I don't know. I mean, I get it's in like an animated resemblance, but I was like looking for the resemblance to the character.
Yeah, he's definitely got Kanan's like green. It's not his specifically, obviously, but it's clearly a green shoulder pad like Kanan wore with the little 3-pronged thing. So that's kind of neat. It's also weird the insinuation of like if you have a kid with a Twi'lek, they come out with the hair color of their skin color. Because I don't remember. What the hell was?
Yeah,
his
why
name?
not a green kid with like brown hair?
What was his name in the Clone Wars? He had 2 kids with the pink Twi'lek, the deserter.
Oh,
What
yeah.
his name was. But I feel like their kids were normal, weren't they?
They were different.
Well, one was a little Twi'lek, I thought. Whatever.
Yeah, I think it was like a little clone boy and like a Twi'lek girl.
Weird. I still like seeing that table come up out of the floor. It's just neat. Get more of her doing Force stuff. It's fine. I
will say that I hate that with it's Ahsoka. She is one of the like the biggest or not biggest, the most powerful Force users. I feel like next to Anakin and maybe Obi-Wan. and the little bit of force abilities that we get to see them make is her scooting a cup across the table. Like I want to see like big things.
Well, we
Like
also
in the games
haven't.
and in the show, she's stopping ships.
Well, we also haven't seen her really in any scenario where she needs to do more than she
Yeah.
does. She hasn't really had to go to that place to try to. I mean, you think like the Order 66 thing is clearly they are distressed and struggling to sustain, much less like be on top
No,
of the
I get it. Like the
situation.
adrenaline and everything.
So, I mean, since she's just kind of walked through everything, because that's just the level that she's at currently, I'll be curious to see whenever she goes up against Balin, how that, if it's just going to be another lightsaber battle, or if we're going to get kind of that increase in.
Apparently, from what I've read, like they go at it a couple of times. Not like once or twice, but maybe 3 or 4 times.
Um, I kind of like. I mean, the chase sequence, the whole space battle. I feel like was a bit long. Like you have the whole space portion, and then you move into like the cloudy portion where it's like the same thing. It's like, I mean, nothing was really happening to speak of. Uh, it's like at first, like, oh, space battles, sweet, and then they go into the clouds, and it's like dodging tentacles. All right, it's a cool spectacle, I guess, but um, I do think it's neat the idea that they brought back the like little personal hyperspace rings for the starfighters, but then like blow it up to a massive scale for.
Yeah,
But for what?
from
Just
Clone
the whole
Wars.
ring, I guess, travels. It's not gonna have anything like lock into it, I guess.
I think the whole point of the ring is that, like the ship, if you think about it, like in the old Clone War factors, like a little bitty tiny ship in the big hyperspace ring, it took that. I guess maybe even the big ships now aren't big enough to make the distance, so they need an even bigger hyperspace ring.
Yeah, but you also
So you're
couldn't
gonna get like
fit in the personal hyperspace rings. So is the
it makes it.
hyperspace ring the ship itself? Because they're in it clearly in
Oh
this.
yeah.
But I'm
So I was
wondering
also
if they
thinking
could
like
lock something into it in some way and take it with
a
them.
giant Chimera
Yes,
Star Destroyer.
something. And her ship's neat. Like the whole like spinning thing. I kind of wish she had flown between the two ships and flipped the wings and just like smashed them, like they showed. I don't even remember what the fuck his name was from Andor. Do it with his ship. He like did that with the lasers or whatever and chopped them in half. She's like, oh, I'm gonna split them. I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. She's gonna like fly between them and then flip the wings and bat them. And instead, she like just flies between them. I'm like, missed opportunity, but okay. But her ship is really fucking impractical. Like,
She's got an old Mando ship, right?
I don't know. She has a giant dorsal fin. That's all I know. And the space thing is kind of. I mean, they can't make it look any less kind of silly, I guess, than it did. Um, her in like this bright blue, like it felt more like the Clone Wars cartoon, which I think is funny. Stupid camera.
Can't focus.
Um, it felt more like the Clone Wars cartoon, like with her like standing out there with the ship, or with her lightsabers, like with the ships flying by. It just had that
In the
feeling,
1960s retrofitted like Tragunta spacesuit.
I'm
That's the right species, right? Tragunta?
Torguda, something.
Traguta.
Yeah. I'm curious about Merrick still. Still no real indicator. He kind of, I feel like he sounds like Sam Witwer. I don't know who else Sam Witwer would be voicing. It would make sense if it's him because he's like very modulated and stuff.
I was gonna say we got him to speak this episode.
And he said, "As you wish." Like, that's very weird. That feels like a kind of Star Killery thing. It's a very Vader thing to say. So I don't know. I'm still interested to see. I wish we got a little more Balin in this episode because again, he's just really fucking cool. But we'll get there. Hu Yang was good this episode. Nothing really specific to talk about with him, I don't think. I really dig these like Grievous ships. They're just cool. I also think it's interesting the specific difference between like early Ahsoka and now Ahsoka, where like Sabine's like, "Oh, we got to help Hu Yang," and she's like, "No, we don't. We have to prioritize on what we need to do, um, or else we're gonna be dead." Whereas like in her early days, she would have probably focused on saving R2 or something, which I just think is an interesting.
She literally stayed in a battle for the clones. Like you don't remember the episode where she's like jumping up like the tanks and stuff, and like Anakin's like come back and like
Yeah,
that's their job. You could have died. Like we told you to do one thing and you didn't fucking listen.
I'm still. I like I don't know. I can't tell if she's was a little lighter this episode or not. I
I think she's
appreciate
trying.
the wise, like, because of all the shit she's been through and all of the knowledge that she has and all the training and stuff that she has, the like wise, slow, thoughtful, like master type, I think is really fitting. But it's also so far detached from what we're used to. I don't hate
I
it.
think she's also trying to find like that balance between
Friend and
Ahsoka
teacher.
Master and Anakin Master.
Yeah.
Because what worked for her is not going to work for Sabine. And the only master she knows of is Anakin.
It's also interesting the spacesuit has a Republic logo on the shoulder. Like a traditional Republic logo. I don't know if they used the same Republic logo for the New Republic. I don't. No,
I think they did.
they used like a Rebel logo because the badge that they gave Cara Dune was like a red, like typical Rebel logo, I think. So I don't know.
Could have
I
been like what? Go
what?
ahead.
I'm just moving to the next topic.
Yeah, you're fine. Go.
Them talking like the scene with Balin. He makes the comment about like, oh, it'd be a shame to kill her. There's not a whole lot of us left. If that's going anywhere, if he's gonna turn, I think it would make sense if he turns and then dies. Um,
But he didn't say us. He said not a lot of Jedi left.
yeah, but he's clearly not evil. Otherwise, he would have rolled up into that ship in the first episode and killed people and took what he wanted. He was just gonna go walk by, get his prisoner, and leave. His first instinct wasn't, I'm gonna land in here and kill all these people, until he got pressed and was like, well, gotta do what we gotta do now. So I don't think they're evil. I don't think, like, but then he made the,
He's like a mercenary Jedi.
yeah, people have made the comment, Star Wars Theory made the comment that he's almost as interested to watch the show because of Balin and Shin and what their story is, just as interested as he is just to see the rest of the show anyways. And I am in complete agreement. They're just super interesting, and they haven't really even been on the screen a whole lot, but they're so different from like what we're used to. They feel more like Old Republic-y in their visuals and their thought, I guess.
But all are they also interesting because you don't know anything about them?
I mean, to a certain extent, sure, but we also didn't really know anything about Riva, and I didn't. I mean, I didn't really care that much. I wasn't like excited to see her story in any capacity.
No, true.
Whereas like just the few lines that they've had, the way that they like him, literally just him making the comment about like, I'd be ashamed to kill her. There's not a whole lot of us left. That's just an interesting line coming from a character that seems to be on the bad side of things. That's not really a mindset that I feel like we've seen from anybody. Like that comment is just interesting. But then he makes the comment about like, oh, what happens when Thrawn gets back? And he's like, oh, for some this and for others that. And she's like, yeah, but what about us? He's like, power greater than you could ever imagine. It's like, what the hell does that mean? And also, how does Thrawn equate to that for you specifically? I don't understand that, but I guess
What
we'll
if it's
see.
not Thrawn in question, but the place where they get Thrawn from that grants the power?
Yeah, maybe. I think we're going to get a whole lot more Night Sister action, because she says that this place specifically was built by people not of this galaxy, and it's clearly Night Sister related. So that's, I guess they're going to explain where the witches come from and why it's not the Force, and it's like a weird magic, I guess. And he also just looks conflicted when he sends off the people to go get her. Like, he knows that they're not going to do anything to her, and he just kind of looks either like unsettled or something. I am feeling like he's going to turn in some capacity, maybe not be a good person, but I don't know. I'm intrigued. And that's the episode.
Well, we got one whole week left, which I feel like this week kind of flew by.
Yeah, this week was pretty quick.
Which I can't say that for most shows, but for this one, it definitely flew by.
Let's see, episode 4 runtime.
Don't.
What?
I'm gonna go with 46 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's any. Episode 5's runtime.
What? Episode 4
says the runtime for Ahsoka episode 5 is one of the series' longest yet. Granted, this is a leak, so who knows? I guess it's gonna tell me specifically in this article, but I'm not. This says the 5th episode of Ahsoka will clock in at 49 minutes and 50 seconds. This makes the upcoming chapter the second longest episode, beaten only by the first chapter, which runs at 54 minutes. Episode 2 is 46, while the third is 34, so we don't, I guess, know about the 4th episode. Unless this is meant to be about the 4th episode. Oh, it says, but no, there's still no word on the length of episode 4, so surely it's not going to be shorter than this one was. But with a long episode 5, if that's true, I don't know, maybe we'll get like an average 40-minute long episode next week, because clearly we're going to have some conflict with Balin, and I feel like there's a reasonable amount of stuff that they need to kind of set up and deal with going into that 5th episode. Maybe the 5th episode's when Thrawn's going to show up. I mean, we're here.
We only have 3 episodes left.
I mean,
no, 4 or 6.
Yeah, 6.
No, 5.
5. But we're already here. We're at the thing. They said the last part's being put in now, so we go through episode 4. Whatever happens, happens. We jump in episode 5, maybe. And then we spend the second half of the season in Peridia, potentially. I don't know. But I am
should be interesting.
Intrigued. I like Hera more after this episode. Sabine.
You barely saw her.
I'm still indifferent on Sabine. A lot of people who don't have the context of Rebels, from what I've seen in reviews and things, don't like Sabine because they don't have the context of her being a dickhead and just making stupid decisions for the sake of it, which I understand, because without the context of Rebels, what you've seen of her just in this show is kind of stupid.
If Ezra's anything like he was in the show, then I'm going to hate him too.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are like, I don't even want to fucking save Ezra. I don't like him. I don't. I mean, I don't much care for him, I guess. He's not like even in my top 10 probably of characters, but
I enjoyed the story.
I think he had a decent arc from where he started to where he ended. So I'm curious to see where that is now that we're many, many years even past that, and he's been in isolation potentially, to see how he's changed.
See, I'm a little different. I love the Phoenix Squadron. I love the Rebels story arc. I liked all of it. I'm super excited. I'm super interested to see how everything turns out. So,
yeah, I liked the Ghost Squadron story as a whole, but I think if Ezra's story had been told in a not very kid show context, maybe it would have been a bit more bearable. But like all the quirks and whatever, like I don't know. Also, I think the chopper was a practical effect in this episode. It looked like a real thing with the way that he was moving, whereas like in the last one with the way that his head like swivels in his cylinder, it didn't look like a real thing. I don't know.
I see what you mean.
Um,
For the Jason or whatever.
And I guess like Ahsoka and them, they can't reach out to anybody because they have no comms in this sector, so they're here by themselves. And I mean, unless I have no idea. I don't know where we're going next episode. There better be. I think we're gonna see Shin and Sabine fight. I think there was a clip from the trailers of them fighting in this red forest, so we'll probably see them fight again. Maybe we'll see both of them get into it next episode. Surely I don't kill off one of them in the next episode. But unless they're gonna kill one off, we're jumping in 5 and introducing Thrawn, so Balin's dying next episode. So he makes space for a new villain. I don't know where we're going.
It'd be his Padawan and not him.
But anything else?
No, I'm good.
I guess that's it. We'll be here same time next week. If y'all happen to see this on the YouTube side and you have any thoughts or something we missed, let us know. We'll do
Put
the
it
same
in the comments.
We'll do the same thing next week. We'll discuss some oddball things that we've seen over the week, and we'll do some talking beforehand, go into the episode, and discuss afterwards. So that's it for this one. So